Hi, everyone. I'm DeFi Dad. You're watching episode 35 of Yield TV. Okay, hey, everyone. It is November 19th, 2020, and today we're going to be talking with the founder and CEO of Aave. Probably know him already, Stani. Stani, how do I pronounce your last name again?
Kulechov.
Kulechov, okay. Yeah, okay, I would have guessed that. But anyways, just some background for those that don't know Stani, or maybe if you've never used Aave, maybe you've just heard of it. So Aave has been one of the most popular DeFi protocols and applications for lending and borrowing assets on Ethereum. You can earn interest lending, you can deposit multiple tokens, and you can actually borrow against the cumulative value of all of those collaterals. So like I've actually deposited 4 tokens and I've got a loan against the net value of all of them. And I found that to be pretty cool because I've never been able to do that in legacy finance. And then just some background that we're going to talk through the journey that Stani's been on since launching ETHLend back in 2017. They rebranded to Aave at a later time. And now Aave has grown to as high as 1.7 billion in total value locked. Aave has also been notable for popularizing flash loans, which flash loans, I think most of us by now have learned they're very powerful for doing like really useful things in DeFi, while they've also become popular, I think, because of some of the flash loan exploits. So we'll talk all about that. And then also, they recently migrated their Lend token to a newly designed Aave token, which reflects a lot of the changes in the DeFi landscape and some of the new tokenomics that they wanted to put in place. And yeah, anyways, just super excited to have you, Stani. So how's everything going? Like, how's the team doing?
Thanks for having me here. I mean, team's doing pretty well. We're actually growing quite a lot. I used to still think I'm still in the kind of like the idea that we have like 15 people in the team, like 15 persons. But
yeah,
I think we calculated, we had a team meeting on Monday and we calculated that there is roughly 33 persons at the core team, which was surprising to me because I know that we have quite a lot of newcomers, but just like, it just feels that we're small, but at the end of the day, like it seems that we're growing quite rapidly. And I've seen quite a lot of like DeFi protocols starting to actually have the same experience that they're growing. So in terms of like personnel, and that's fascinating.
Yeah. It's been a wild year because, we started out in early January and we were all excited to see the $1 billion mark in total value locked. But then, am I understanding or remembering correctly, you guys launched, I think, before we hit $1 billion, right? Like you relaunched back in January.
Yeah, I was celebrating kind of like I was part of helping to get to billion personally and also through the protocol contribution. So I think, so in the beginning of the year, it wasn't even $1 billion year. So it has grown quite a lot. A lot of it of this TVL is leverage that we have in DeFi, but nevertheless, like there's more and more users. I mean, now in AAVE Protocol, there's roughly 20,000 users, and practically a year ago, I think in DeFi in general was about 20,000 users, if not even that. So definitely, like the growth has been not just in Aave, but the whole space has been doing pretty well now.
Yeah, it's just been exciting, and I feel like you have to keep zooming out to appreciate all that progress that we've made over the past year. So we're going to definitely talk about Aave V2 today. I think everyone is probably most excited to learn about what's potentially coming there. But for those that are newer to Aave or maybe newer to DeFi, I think your story of launching ETHLend is really interesting. So I was wondering if you can kind of take us back a second. Can you describe some of the highlights of launching ETHLend back in 2017 and maybe like walk me through like what happened in 2018 and 2019? Because those you're building all throughout the bear market. And I think we tend to forget all of those challenges and struggles, just because you guys are doing, significantly well now.
Yeah, and I mean, it definitely affects everything that we're doing. I mean, decisions we make and so forth. I mean, practically, like when we launched, I think we launched the very first like common version 2017 January. So we actually tried to deploy on already end of 2016, but we're building. It was very simple, kind of like on-chain lending, collateralized lending protocol, ETH-Lend, and that's kind of like where the whole over-collateralization in terms of lending and borrowing was born. And what's interesting back then is that user experience wasn't that kind of like good, and also like there wasn't an ecosystem, right? So before ETH-Lend, there was Ether Delta as a decentralized exchange, and later I think it was during 17 or 18, Kyber came and brought some like on-chain liquidity. So everything was very small in ecosystem wise. Like, and how this affect is that people don't realize like the power of this network where smart contracts are discussing with each other, and you can actually build very interesting things. And the more contracts there are on the Ethereum network or whatever network you're using, practically the more opportunities you will actually have to build interesting stuff. And 2017 was a bit of crazy period because everyone was launching something, like practically anything. I mean, there was like some crazy. I think there were so many crazy projects that it's just insane on a daily basis. That and kind of like the barrier was very low. You have a white paper and then you release something. And during 2018, people realized that this kind of like behavior can't continue, and the market practically collapsed. Which was in one sense, it was good because it really took out the noise, but also kind of like it was a stress test for all of the teams and protocols we're building to actually try to figure out and get that protocol market fit. And I've seen people teams building stuff, but kind of leaving as it is. So they didn't like iterate. So like if you look at like Aave and ETH-Lend from the very first day until this moment, it has been constant iterations of a product. So it's kind of like a movement. So we release something and we improve it until the model is something that actually gets very good protocol market fit. And many of these protocols, they launched really fascinating products, but they just didn't take the extra step of actually like building with their community and users. And that's a shame because we've seen quite interesting stuff coming out. But I think people will pick up those old projects. And I was actually reading again for another subject the white paper of the Ethereum. So practically there's a lot of stuff actually still being unbuilt. Like you could actually read the white paper and pick some stuff and build those. Like it's very fascinating ideas.
Yeah, it takes a lot of patience. I remember in 2017 talking about ETH2 coming, and I was new to the space, but I understood that there was this like better version of Ethereum coming, and I like many people just thought it was just down the road, and now I've come to realize like how much research and effort goes into that. Do you recall like during the bear market, did your team contract at all? And I was always curious, like how many loans, if you have the number handy, how many loans you originated versus what you've done with Aave just in 2020?
Yeah, I think 2018, our TVL kind of was somewhere in 2 million, 2.5 million. So very small.
But those are impressive numbers back then. I mean, there wasn't anything at that point. Yeah. Wow, I didn't realize that. You guys got up to 2 million. Wow. And do you recall how many loans you would have originated in 2018?
Quite a lot. I think probably in total a couple of thousand at least. So there was good activity there. Like definitely kind of like people love the fact that you had like fixed loans. You could fix your yield, you could fix your borrow rate. But the opportunity was smaller in the sense that when you borrow, the use cases of what you can do after and how to get even to get into fiat world or whatnot, was far more limited than it is today. Like many take granted, for example, stable coins. But when we launched ETHLend in 2017, there was one stable coin, which was USDT, which was on Omni blockchain. So it wasn't even in Ethereum. So practically how we solved this issue before stable coins, we let people to borrow USD pegged Ethereum and return USD pegged Ethereum. So practically their loan was fixed in USD, but they were like transferring Ether in between each other. So that was pretty cool.
Wow. I didn't realize that. Yeah, you guys have been fascinating to me because I do feel like your token took a huge hit during that time. Yeah. So when people talk about tokens like drawing down, I think Ethereum at one point drew down, if you're talking all-time highs, which is kind of ridiculous because it's like a moment in time, but Ethereum or Ether drew down 95%. And I mean, gosh, like you guys with that drawdown, I guess I'm wondering, like, how did you survive that? Like, were you just really more diligent with your treasury management? Did the team have to contract during those years?
Yeah, we basically we switched to eat porridge and to smaller offices.
Yeah, that's great.
But jokes aside, I think interesting part for me was during that 18 that how much actually like the valuations affect, because for me, like crypto space and Ethereum was never about values in the sense that speculation valuations and so forth, because I found smart contracts super interesting with the self-execution kind of feature. Of course, like my background in law and also background in Web2 financial application building affected quite a lot that kind of like a thinking. But basically, I wanted to build some stuff, and this has been always kind of, for me, the driver. During 2018, I was just too much motivated on kind of like building a better product all the time. So I didn't, I've never been myself a speculator. I never practically sold any kind of a cryptocurrency or a token into fiat. I basically, I have like one-way stream into the crypto world. And for me, for me, actually, I was always motivated by the driving of building, but I noticed how much it affects the market. The same way as, for example, during this summer when DeFi became more popular, there's this expression of blue chip DeFi protocols, and also like I kind of noticed that how much it actually affects the markets and also like the users. And for me, it's totally fine, because the product that we are building is more about wealth and value, because our goal is that practically you could use all the value that you possess, and use it as a collateral and do this kind of like an equity release and get liquidity without disposing your kind of wealth. So that's kind of like what we're aiming for. And I think over the period of time when tokenization becomes more popular, we get real assets and a bunch of other things into representing on-chains besides dollars. That will be pretty interesting.
I think what you're saying too is partially to do with, why you all continue to be one of the most popular DeFi applications. To lend and earn interest is, I think, one of the killer use cases of DeFi. I think it's one of the use cases that any person who has no experience with DeFi can immediately understand. I hold something, it has value, or I believe it has value, I want to hold it. Why not lend it and earn interest on top of it? And not just earn interest. It's not like it's not like you put in wrapped Bitcoin and you earn it in US dollars. You're earning more of the token that you actually hold. And that's something that, there's other competitors out there, but just kind of trying to zero in on what makes Aave so valuable. I think the use case is just so obvious. The thing about Aave, though, that has really stuck with me is the magic moment for me in DeFi. There's been two this past year. One was when in 2020, whenever the Ren Bridge launched, I tokenized some Bitcoin and I was like, holy shit, that is so cool. I can't believe I did that. And now I don't have to go through any middlemen. And now I have my wrapped Bitcoin or my Ren Bitcoin. The other one, though, I was actually kind of late to the game in realizing that with Aave that I could collateralize multiple types of tokens and borrow against all of it. And so for me, like I grew up in a very lower middle class household, and that sort of financial service was never available to us. My understanding is that's more of like a high net worth service that you can you can get. And so I was like, wait a sec. So I could like imagine if I could take my stock portfolio and borrow against it in real time. And so to be able to do that with Aave, I mean, I did it in about 30 minutes. This was during the height of the gas price war too. Like I was, it was like 500 Gwei, but I was like, I don't even care. This is like, I wanted to take a small loan against it. And I was quickly able to deposit. It was wrapped Bitcoin, Wi-Fi, Lend. At the time it was Lend, and Ether. And anyways, just, I was able to run off with the money, and it's been eye-opening for me as someone who uses DeFi applications.
And that's our kind of like thing. Like basically, this been a product that has been available for let's say practically wealthy people. But the thing is, what cryptocurrencies and decentralized finance does is that it brings value. It materializes and realizes value that we already possess. For example, if I contribute to multiple protocols in their governance, and participate there, and I get different kinds of rewards for that. For example, it could be like liquidity mining and staking, whatnot. I actually like the actual value besides the cryptography there is actually the participation, like individuals as a community taking part of that like decision-making power, and also like contributing to that community, whether building software or just in the decision-making or some other functionality. But there's like, so the value is actually born like from us, like deriving from us, like individuals. And individuals in general, they have a lot of value, like kind of like that isn't tokenized form or materialized. That there might be value in the furniture that we select. There might be value, for example, the products that we use, or the opinions that we give, or basically any kind of like it can be like intellectual property or real property. And I think over the time when this tokenization evolves more, we actually can put that value into these kind of systems where we collateralize them and release equity, basically liquidity, without disposing. Because I personally will not like why people sell things usually is because they might need cash flow. But actually, like if over time you possess something that is valuable, it should grow over the period of time, and then you take also risk that might not be so successful. But like I think there might be even a future where you don't need to dispose anything, and kind of like Aave, the collateralization practically represents that. So if you can collateralize your house, your car, your possession, and everything you have, and you have all the liquidity that you need, so you basically don't need to sell anything. So if we can reach something like that, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it will happen, but still, I mean, it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, there's no argument against it either. I think it's one of the things I've always struggled with, like Bitcoin maxis. I'm like, why must everything be in this one asset when there's so much other value in the world? And I think like one of the examples in 2020 that's been exciting to watch is personal tokens. I love the fact that someone can, be able to take what value and expertise they have and say, here it is in a liquid form, and I can pay people in it. I can potentially at some point in the future, I'm envisioning a personal tokens market inside of Aave where someone can actually put up the more popular, liquid, whatever you want to call it. Basically, it would be almost like Uniswap. Like as long as someone's willing to provide it as liquidity, and as long as someone's willing to lend it, as long as someone's willing to borrow it, like who are we to stop people from doing that?
Exactly. And like there is always risk, but kind of like what I realized in ETHLand already is that kind of like this was, so if you imagine like what ETHLand was like before Aave, so the ecosystem, most of the tokens that were on the market, they weren't liquid at all. Like some of them were a bit liquid, So kind of like we even didn't want to pull the liquidity together. Like now we have in AAVE protocol that basically we have all the funds meshed into one place, and kind of like if you deposit DAI, you can withdraw DAI, and it doesn't matter if it's borrowed or not because there's always liquidity, and also like the collateral composition is pooled. So you could use Aave, you could use Wi-Fi and for example Link at the same time as the collateral. But back in Eatland days, we basically went in a way that the borrower puts an asset as a collateral, and then a lender has to come and practically pick that asset and give the loan. So we didn't have this kind of pool model, and that was because the market wasn't ripe enough. And what we understood back then, some of the collaterals, even if they weren't liquid enough, there's a lot of people who were actually funding those loans. And I personally, when I'm asking like, why would you fund that kind of a token? I mean, it's quite unliquid, and many of them actually went in long positions. So it wasn't only about liquidations. It wasn't about like I need a token as a collateral that I can actually liquidate with and make the profit and come back to the showing up for the liquidation spot again. So like I realized that actually like it's not always so straightforward, and practically if there is people who they appreciate the personal tokens, they could be used as a collateral. And the funny part is it might happen very, very soon as well.
Oh yeah, I know, right? These are things that I think we talk about them for a moment, and we think like, well, maybe it'll take this much time. But with the pace that DeFi has developed in just the last like 6 months, I totally believe we'll see like large personal token markets really soon. Stani, actually, before we talk about what to look forward to in V2, do you mind screen sharing, and we could like just show everyone I'm thinking of the newbies who haven't ever used Aave. I'd love to just kind of show them, what does the lending and the borrowing dashboard look like? And also a reminder to anyone, if you end up holding the Aave token, you can stake it as well. And we should probably talk about what is the safety module, because that's been a part of the new Aavenomics.
Yeah, definitely. I can actually, let me just get into the...
Yeah, no, I was going to say, make sure you get into the right wallet. I always warn people, don't want to be in the wrong wallet.
Let me see. All right, this is pretty good. I had to, when you switch the network, I was in Kovan, and then you have 15 tabs on a different network. It updates all of the tabs.
Yeah, or you are in Coven or Ropsten, and you discover, like you forget about it, and you look, and I go, oh my God, what happened to my wallet? What? Oh my God, did someone gain control of my computer? And then I'm like, oh wait, that's right, I'm on the test network. Woo. Here we go.
So you guys see basically the app now, right?
Here we go. Yep, now you're good.
So it's kind of straightforward. I mean, we have practically here a money market. So the Aave protocol is a protocol where you can create new markets. So you can change to other markets, which is basically the Uniswap version 1 money market. So this was a proof of concept, and the Aave version 2 will actually have multiple different markets. So there will be the Uniswap version 2 supports and balancer and set protocol market and a few other ones. So this is the main one. So each market has a reserve that you can actually deposit. For example, if you want to earn interest, or you can borrow if you have deposited some collateral. And so the main use case, probably 75% of all Aave depositors, they're practically earning. So they use deposit to get the APYs. So it's quite simple. Let's say, okay, so I have some DAI here. I just deposit. Usually you have to approve as well, because
no worries. You don't have to go all the way through it. But yeah, point is, if I deposit, the deposit APY is what I will end up earning in this case. Actually, Stani, one of the things that you guys did in the UX that I really appreciate, I think a lot of DeFi apps don't do this well, is having the 2 steps. So with ERC20 tokens, a lot of new users don't know what an approval step is. They don't know about giving permission for a spending limit. And so they click that first step in many applications and they say, okay, I'm done. And then you're like, oh, no, you got to do the second transaction. But the way you guys designed it in Aave, it's crystal clear that, I'm starting with an approval step followed by an actual execution.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think the user experience pretty cool. And like, for example, now I think the deposit is still loading there.
Yep.
With the gas. I think it's actually done.
Oh, no, don't worry. That's all they needed to see there. I don't know if you happen to have a loan open by chance.
Yeah. So here I have deposits actually. So there is USDC, there is DAI, and these are like small amount. This is my kind of like a test account, and then practically I have the borrow here as well. So practically I borrowed USDC against my deposit, which is actually, it's funny. It's Lend token. I should swap it to Aave. But
yeah, you gotta. Do you need help with that? I'll show you after this. We'll take the migration portal.
And yeah, so this is funny part is that I'm earning here various rates. Practically the Lend API isn't active because of the migration. But normally I'm practically earning on my deposits, and then I'm paying my borrow. So practically what's interesting here is that the net outcome of the what I'm earning and what I'm spending is what I'm actually paying then. So it's pretty simple, and I can borrow from this market any kind of asset that we have. And this is like the whole collateral composition is practically like when we list new assets, and they go to nowadays through a governance voting process, but practically it's adding always risk to the protocol. So you need to be careful what kind of assets you're adding there, and there's first like governance discussions and so forth, and then there's this kind of like a polling and then actual voting if the polling is successful. So like it's always important to understand that like ERC20 tokens and cryptocurrencies in general are very volatile, except maybe stable coins, but still they always have risk involved. So it's not always like everything's so straightforward or fairy tales. There's always whenever you see yields, there's always the risk aspect that you are actually taking.
And I would compare, so my experience using Aave versus I've used BlockFi, which is not DeFi, but I think it's really savvy, centralized finance. And if you, let's say, collateralize Bitcoin with a BlockFi, and if you borrow, let's say, USDC, in order to pay back part of it, or in order to like take out an additional loan, you have to actually go through their customer support. And like the frictionlessness of using Aave to me that's the convenience that I'm like looking for. At the end of the day, like I don't have to submit to any KYC. I can just connect my Ethereum wallet. And actually, Stani, also, am I right to say you can borrow multiple types of tokens, right? As long as the health factor is, actually, that's another thing too. I'd love to, can you quickly explain what is the health factor and how that's calculated?
Yeah, so practically, if you go to the borrow view, so the health factor actually means how healthy your loan position is. So when you deposit into Aave, like during that deposit, a credit line is granted to you, so you can borrow against your deposit. And practically when you start borrowing, that health factor starts to reduce, and it practically means that how close you are, your borrowed value is how close it is to the value you deposited. And when it becomes below 1, so now it's 649. What happens is that the loan can be liquidated, which means that when it's below 1, it means that you have your borrowing plus the liquidation discount plus the interest that is accruing is more than your collateral, which basically means that you have a insolvent position. So basically, it can be liquidated. So it's important to keep it above, let's say, at least 2 to to 3. There is no. People keep asking me quite often, like, what's the good health factor? And there is no right answer. It really depends on your comfort level. I personally don't keep anything below 3 often. I mean,
me too. That's actually 3 is ideal. I think I got as low as 2 once and was like going like this, checking the prices constantly.
This is by the way cool. So when you deposit, let's say DAI, as I did, you get in return this kind of like A tokens. So A token is the kind of receipt when you deposit into Aave. So it's interest bearing token. So it should, like, we see now this amount here. I don't know how often the Etherscan fetches the balance, but we should see the balance increase when I update. Okay, yeah. So it updated. So it should update like every second in the algorithm that we have. So you don't need to claim your yields. It actually like grows. So this is basically your deposit plus the interest, and you can swap it into DAI. You can send it to your friend. And the cool thing is that when you send a DAI to someone else, it keeps continuing increasing in balance. So it's actually permissionless interest rates.
Yeah, the A token design to me is easier to understand because, if I put in 100 DAI, I get 100 A DAI right off the bat, and then it increases from there. Yeah, the C tokens, like, I can follow it just because I've used Compound, but I've always thought the A token was a little more user friendly for new.
Yeah, we got like a lot of critique when we launched because it's very difficult to integrate into, let's say, Balancer, Uniswap, and so forth. But like we kind of understood that like a lot of DeFi actions driven by retail, and retail, like they like user experience, because like you have to please retail, you have to build good products that they are using. So you're competing for the attention, usability, and like we got like so much good like feedback from end users, and that was like one of the most amazing things. And then we had, at the same time, we had like this battle with other community members in Ethereum about like, is it the right way or wrong way to do things? And now it seems that actually people are starting to build similar things, like the OUSD and well, that recently had its strategy, but basically like many of them starts to adopt the same technique, and that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah. You guys have definitely, I think, inspired a lot in terms of design since launching. Stani, could you talk us through any detail about V2 for Aave? Also, actually, before we leave the screen, just a reminder, if you have Aave, oh no, it's okay. I'm going to remove the screen there. If you have Aave, you can stake Aave. There's a little staking section or part of that like menu on the left side of the screen. So that allows someone to earn more Aave. But Stani, the risk, my understanding is that if something unforeseen happened, let's say like a smart contract bug, and there were funds lost, that safety module is meant to be like an insurance fund for.
Yes. And that is something that differs our protocol with other DeFi stuff, because so what we noticed that in the governance is that the stakeholders that are holding, let's say, Aave, and they're participating in voting, they're practically making risk-based decisions. Let's say like what kind of asset could be added, what kind of risk parameters could be set in a particular money market, and against that, they're practically transferring the risk to themselves with this staking module, which is the active risk taking, and then there's the passive one, which is the protocol recovery issuance, which is kind of like similar that Maker has. So we have this kind of like a multi-level model. And in the staking, practically what you're doing is that you're staking your Aave, and up to 30% could be slashed. Not now, but after, basically the governance is going to vote after the first quarter to activate the actual slashing, so-called slashing. And it means that if there is some sort of a shortfall event, for example, smart contract bug, or failed liquidation, or any kind of event that makes the protocol go in deficit, practically those staked funds will be used to get the protocol back on the over over the surface. And what's interesting about that is that like we try to figure out like what is the most important thing in for the Aave community and our protocol, and particularly its safety. So the same way as, for example, we're using smart contracts, we're using blockchain. Same way, you have Ethereum. It's all about security, safety and security. So if you can provide that for the end users and integrators, that's a very big kind of like argument to use Aave, and that was the ratio there. And I think it's been working pretty well. We have now roughly 3 million worth of Aave staked in the protocol, and we usually try to be very conservative with kind of like incentives and mining things. Aave, for example, Aave protocol doesn't have any liquidity mining, and even like we watched everything that was happening, and still we're in the position that we're not kind of like supporting it, because we have our own way to actually get the community involved by taking risk and just providing safety. And that's kind of cool, because then we have incentives where they're aligned to produce a safe deposit and environment compared with liquidity mining incentives. Often it can be that the liquidity shows up but leaves the protocol once the mining program ends. And also like the planned liquidity incentives that we have, which are not activated, are actually compounded in a way that once you earn them, you can basically set them into the safety module and earn more. So practically our goal is to, even if we had this active liquidity incentive program, that the incentives are aligned both for the liquidity providers and the safety module deposit, the stakers, for safety of the protocol. And that's very important, I think.
Stani, if I am staking Aave in the safety module, let's say I've earned 1 Aave, but I haven't claimed it yet, is it in the safety module earning more Aave, or do I have to claim it and then stake that?
Yeah, now you have to claim and restake. So it's, but this is something we're working now and updating, basically.
That's exciting. Yeah, that's awesome. I've yeah, definitely. Sometimes some of us don't do it just for like tax reasons. But yeah, that would be super helpful.
Yeah, that's like whenever we try to design things, we try to leave the option to the end user. So one of interesting things, actually, yesterday I was spending I think was up until 3 a.m. or something, that was helping one community developer that was basically developing a smart wrapper smart contract on the A token, so that actually you could choose not to take the A tokens in your custody, for example, for tax reasons or something like that. And this community developer was practically building it, and we were testing it, and after our procedures, audits, and everything, we can add it into the front end. So I think it's all about giving the choice for the end user, and them like let their behavior decide what matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Just get out of their way and let the user decide. Stani,
I think that's what's happening very well in Zapper, actually, because like every time I ask, like, hey, can you guys add this? Can you guys add this? And like in a few days, it
is. I think it's a privilege, but it's also slightly terrifying at times, like all the requests that come in. But it's just so much. I think one of the really cool things about Zapper is we get to like interface with so many teams, and so like for me, it's a dream for me, because I like sitting across all these different DeFi applications. And I think it's, you get to focus on lending, then we're talking about options, and then next thing we're talking about token sets. So yeah, it's been really fun. Stani, what products are being worked on that have yet to release? And I guess I mean to ask, like, what's coming with V2, or what's coming with V2, and also what other products is Aave working on that we can look forward to?
Yeah, so in terms of practically in V2, so there's like a lot of interesting functionality there. I mean, it's the model is pretty same, that you can actually deposit and borrow against, but also you can natively delegate your credit to another person. So for example,
Cool.
you deposit it to Aave, and then you're earning something, but then you want extra yield. So you could just deposit into a some kind of a pool, delegate to a pool, to your friend, or to a smart contract. And what happens is that as a delegator, you get yield, but for the counterparty gets actually a under collateralized loan. And it's either a trust relationship, or it can be like actually smart contract delegation. So let's say you could delegate to a smart contract that can only farm, that can only provide liquidity, that can only do certain things. So there's no credit risk there, and that's quite fascinating. And a couple of other interesting features, like you can swap your collateral, so you can trade basically your collateral while unlocking the liquidity. You can swap your debt position in like.
Oh, cool. Okay, so like if I have a loan, open, are you saying the collateral that I have? Let's pretend that I've deposited Aave, and I want to swap it for Wi-Fi. Could I do that without affecting or worrying about like I think like my issue in the past has been, if I do this, I need to withdraw. Like I basically need to go from the A token to the more liquid version, and then I go to a DEX aggregator, I trade the token, and I come back and I redeposit it. In this case, I can trade A tokens.
Yeah, you just press a button. You just select, let's say if you have Aave and there's Wi-Fi, you can basically swap it, or from Wi-Fi to Aave. So it shows, let's say if you swap from Wi-Fi to Aave, it shows you your current health factor and the health factor after the swap, which should be close.
Should be nearly the same. Yeah.
Unless there's huge loan that there's less liquidity available. But practically, it's just one small action that you do, and the same for debt. So let's say you borrowed DAI, and DAI is at 7%, and you already spent that DAI. But let's say USDT or USDC could be at 2%. So practically, you could just swap it without returning your loan. So you just swap your debt to a cheaper debt option. So that's quite cool.
Oh, very cool. Oh, that's exciting. And then, is there anything coming with flash loans? Like, I guess like part of what you're doing there with credit swaps and debt swaps, is that partially to do with flash loans? Like I think of flash loans when I think about credit and debt swaps in DeFi.
Yeah, many don't understand actually that like there's more flash loans are done for very good stuff. I mean, in 9 months in, like a couple of months ago, we had like $500 million worth of flash loans taken from Aave, basically by DeFi Saver quite a lot for their like how they've helped their end users.
Great product.
And practically like the debt swap and the collateral swap is based on the flash loans, so it's functionality there. And same for closing your loan with a collateral. So now you don't, if you borrow, let's say DAI, and you have a collateral there, you can close the loan with your collateral. So you don't need to come back to the same currency and figure out the amounts. You could just kind of like decide to use your whole collateral to close the debt. And that's like we try to improve quite a lot like user experience this way and capture more users. And I think once people see like how this features play out, like in practice, like they will understand like how powerful DeFi is. Like you can do many things, and you don't even want to go back to traditional finance. And I already whenever I have to go to traditional finance, I hate it because like there's so bad user experience, and everything's made to be difficult. It's made to be very difficult, And in DeFi, everything is made for you. There's protocols competing for your funds and your attention. There's middleware, there's front ends. Everything's designed, and not just like competing. Let's say UK, there's like 5 banks that are competing of clients, but anyone can contribute to DeFi anywhere of the world, and make it kind of like best products and services. Of course, like I hope people do it securely. But that's the idea that it's so open and permissionless that brings a lot of value.
Is the credit delegation that we're talking about? I'm assuming that like that's my best hope of eventually getting to like a mortgage through Aave. Like I talk about this all the time with my friends, which I have no idea timeline wise whether it will work out and for me, but I was like, I really think that it's possible that you could take out a home mortgage sooner than you would expect. And it's been this credit delegation that I've been mostly excited about. I'm like, for someone like me, who I think I have a little bit more of like a publicly known persona just because I work with a lot of DeFi projects and whatever. We do this goofy TV show. But like, I'm thinking about like, I wonder if I could qualify for credit delegation with lots of folks to be an example, to take out a larger sum of money. Or is there something else that I'm missing that's coming in the future that you're thinking will be more powerful for like a mortgage? Like there was some licensing that you all got this year too that I wanted to ask about. And I didn't know if that was related to actually issuing mortgages.
Well, honestly, like credit delegation is meant to serve, to get liquidity from DeFi and inject it into traditional finance. Mm-hmm. So I think businesses, financial institutions that will understand this and they will take liquidity from DeFi, they will grow exponentially faster than any other kind of like a scaling finance startup, because they can get quite a lot of liquidity and tokenize a lot of things and get more liquidity. And it's difficult to compete against something like that. And I would love to see credit delegation where there's a big credit delegation to you where you can buy a house practically and even use that house as a collateral to unlock liquidity and use the way you want to use it. So I want to see this happen.
Yeah, no. I'm here. Please tell the team like happy to talk anytime. Like I feel like it's possible in the next 12 months with the way things are rapidly developing, and as long as Aave keeps taking on the value that people are depositing as collateral, I think we're going to get there. Is there anything else though that we've missed in terms of V2, like credit delegation, credit swaps, debt swaps? I'm sure there will be some general UX improvements. Is there anything with ETH staking? I remember that ETH was potentially a part of the new Aavenomics, not ETH 2.0 staking, but like, you know what I mean? What was in your guys' plan?
I think kind of like in terms of like, well, in terms of ETH2, I think there will going to be a money market where we'll see like tokenized ETH as a collateral, but also like,
oh, cool.
What's interesting is that because the protocol is built as a protocol, it means that we can have multiple money markets, and different collateral composition means that we can have different kinds of interest rate and cost for the borrow capital. So one easy example what we could have is that we have a money market where you can only use ETH as a collateral or USDC as a collateral and only borrow ETH or USDC, which practically means that normally when lending protocols are risk compositions, and that is why, let's say, if USDC is at 4%, let's say borrow rate at Aave, it's because there's different kind of collaterals that are used in the protocol, which is the risk of the protocol itself, that money market. But if there's only ETH, as a collateral, and you can borrow USDC or vice versa, it means that you could actually get the cheapest ETH or the cheapest USDC. And why it matters is because you could borrow to stake, and that means that if the staking yield is, let's say, 10% in the future, and active staking, but the passive staking by depositing to Aave is 8%, you could actually achieve the same completely passively without running a node and so forth. And also for the institutionals, for them, it's easier to say yes to things like they assess only the collateral requirements of ETH and USDC compared if they have to go through 16 tokens and analyze them. And I think this kind of like different compositions will be quite interesting and exciting about actually how governance is developing at Aave. And I recommend anyone who is interested about Aave, the project, and wants to learn more, like to participate. You don't need to hold Aave. You can just go there and voice out, build something on Aave. I will help you. I personally do help people. honestly, I haven't slept the whole night. So I mean, helping people to build things. So
I believe it. With everything you guys ship, I don't know when you sleep either. I can attest the guys on our team, our engineers and the founders seem to never sleep as well. Hey, one thing I missed earlier on flash loans. Can you remind me, how does Aave earn revenue from that? Like, how does someone actually pay fees for using that flash loan, or is there truly no fee to using a flash loan?
We do have, because in the Aave protocol, there's kind of like a policy that when there's a flash loan, they're basically others are providing liquidity, and they're actually consuming that liquidity. So whenever there's a flash loan, this is very fascinating, by the way, because that flash loan spike, it's kind of sad, because there was some of them are used for, let's say, for exploits, and one of the recent exploits, I think it was like 30,000 worth of flash loan fees came to the depositors, and it comes with a spike on that particular block. So it's not divided by period of time, but when there is a flash loan, it's in that block, the kind of like additional flash loan reward is split with all of the depositors in Aave, and that is kind of like really a fascinating part. In the future, the protocol itself, like the fees that we have are quite nominal in terms of, like, there's origination fee, which is 0.000 something, because of the way we built the protocol. But what's fascinating is that the version 2, there will be this kind of like a reserve factor, which allows to set aside part of the interest to the protocol treasury, and practically from this treasury or reserve, it could be rewarded, for example, the stakers, someone who built something on Aave, someone who is hosting a meetup somewhere. So it becomes a self-sustainable protocol, and this will happen exactly the first day of the V2. So maybe in a few months, the protocol is completely self-sustainable, and that will be fascinating.
And those stakers you referenced, that's when we talk about staking in Aave, it's always in reference to the safety module. So stake Aave, maybe stake. I think that's what I was remembering. You probably will be able to stake ETH in the future as long as the Aave community votes on it. That could be another form of collateral.
It's completely on the governance. So like practically, that's the cool part about the Aave protocol is that basically the token has been in the public floating for 3 years. So it's not like Aave is basically a big part of the community. We're just one of the stakeholders, and we'll be building things as long as we're here, because good products and good protocols, it takes years and years to build, and same for the community. Like if you look at Linux, we look at MySQL, and not just Linux, but what the Linux community has created, not just Linux kernels, Git, all of the stuff, bunch of cool things, and it comes from the community.
By the way, Stani, I know you're going to need to hop to another call. Yeah. One last quick question for you. What other DeFi products do you find most interesting? Or maybe just name one. What's something outside of Aave that you're most fascinated by?
Well, there's so many, honestly. I like, for example, Zapper I use on a daily basis all the time, but just to be
there we go. Try Zapper. There we go.
Just to be neutral,
no other answers, just Zapper. That's all.
Yeah, Zapper.
No,
Zapper, Aave.
Yeah, what were we gonna say?
Yeah, Zapper, Aave is good, and Paraswap is also pretty amazing. Like I believe in
Paraswap's awesome. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining us. I know we kept you a little bit over time here, but just tell the team congrats on all the success you guys have had. I know we'll look forward to V2 coming soon. So reminder, everyone, you can follow Stani on Twitter. I think most of us probably already know you, but follow him there. Try Aave. Most importantly, try Aave if you have not tried it, and ask me questions, ask Stani questions, get in their Discord if you need help. We all want more people trying DeFi. And other than that, just thanks so much for your time, Stani. I'll let you hop off here, and we'll talk to you hopefully soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And next time we're here, I hope we will tokenize your mortgage, and you get
my God. Yeah, no, I'm serious, man. I am we'll take this offline, but I want to be an example. Like, I want to show the world that you can take out a mortgage with DeFi. I think it would be a crazy viral story for us. So absolutely. So anyways, yeah, have a great day, Stani. Tell me.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers.